Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We're here at Appropriate Culture for another fantastic episode. You know, I got to be honest. This is going to be a good one. Good buddy of mine. Somebody who I have a lot of respect for. I've produced several songs with him. A lot of you have told me that these are my favorite songs that they enjoy, the ones that I produce with you. I've learned a lot from this guy as an artist. He does a lot of work with production, engineering, and without further ado, Allan.
What's up?
What's up, my guy? Cheers.
Not much, man. Cheers. Get that water in.
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you too. Good to see you too.
How the fuck are you? I'm
not bad, man. It's been a while. I know you've been trying to get me here, so
yeah. You're like this elusive idea that I'm just like, is Allan still even alive? Like, what the?
Oh, dude, I like to fly under the radar a lot, so I kind of, yeah, you know me. It's like when I disappear real good, and It's just like it's one of those things where I'm not even avoiding people. I'm just gone. I'm just just completely off the radar, and it's like okay because when I come back full 100, and when I come back 100, I'm ready for everything. Especially in this industry, right? We're working on music all the time. I think it's fair for some people to take breaks. I know you're not one of those people.
Yeah, but it kind of sometimes it comes back to bite me because you get burnt out.
Yeah.
And we talk about that all the time where it comes to like.
Oh yeah.
I feel one of the conversations that I benefit the most when I talk to you about is talking about like the struggles of weighing out the different aspects of being an artist and like what you should focus on and when you need to like take a step back and reassess what you're doing. And so I gave people a little bit of a background. Like I've known you since back in like middle school.
Yeah,
when I moved from Brazil.
Oh, for sure.
And so a good buddy of ours, it's the connecting friend. He's also been on the podcast, Jake Thatcher.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Yeah, so he's been on the podcast.
All right.
And yeah, ever since then, we never really we always were friends with each other, but we were never like working on like a close level or like doing other stuff outside of just like hanging out around each other.
Yeah. By association.
Yep. And so I believe, fast forward many years later, I decided I wasn't even making music then. And I decided I want to be a music producer. I want to be a DJ. I want to be an artist. This is what I'm going to do. And then I did for a couple of years without even running into you. Mm-hmm. And then Jake, I ran into him. Him and I were working on a song that never came out.
Okay.
And then he told me how you are deep into music. And I was just super down to get connected with anybody who has put in the time. And I just wanted to just rub shoulders with people who are just doing music things. Because I was like, yo, that's important. And so when I got around with you, dude, super eye-opening. Like I was telling you earlier in regards to learning like the simplicity of how music should be, as opposed to try to sound like you're like fucking overcomplicating everything and trying to be the new emerging artist and nobody understands his music. You know what I mean? Yeah. So tell me about that. Like give everybody a little bit of a background on what you're focusing on now and sort of what you've been up to.
Yeah. So, I mean, we had a little bit, we got a couple minutes to talk about this right before. And I mean, recently, down low, obviously, I kind of have been off the radar a little bit. Part of that's because I, tore my calf a couple months ago. So a lot of my projects kind of took kind of like they got thrown in the back burner while I was laying in bed for 2 months. But during that time, it's been a lot of, recalibrating and rethinking. We do that all the time. That's just kind of how our minds have to work. Because we're always adapting to whatever the industry is.
Sure.
And our needs and our wants. And so I was doing a lot of personal projects at the time. I thought that it would be fun to kind of cater to my own stuff. This is going into June before I tore my calf.
Okay.
And I had put out and by no means am I an artist, right? But it is one of those things where I was trying to create a portfolio as an audio engineer. I'm trying to create like kind of this set of music that I know I'm capable of making. And so I was like, well, I need people to know what I can make. So one of the platforms I can do that on is my own as like an artist. And I'm not really trying to be an artist, but I am an artist in the sense of I'm trying to make music. So I put out what would be my first official, track. It's called Waiting. It's out on Spotify, Allan Louderback. And it's like...
And this came out when?
This came out, let's see. I don't know what the official date. I think it was in May.
Okay.
And so like when I started this, I had the impression that I was going to basically, kind of start like a little bit, influence from you is kind of start this like process of like, you know what, every X amount of time I'm going to put out a new track.
Yeah.
It's going to showcase a lot of things, my growth, my diverse skills in music. It's a portfolio for me so that if I get hired as an audio engineer, I have an opportunity to maybe I can be a reference for them. They can be like, oh, I like this song. This is kind of the vibe I'm going for the track. But anyway, I released that first one, and then literally like not even a month later, I tore my calf, and it's like every project I thought I was going to do for myself and for clients and other people just went down the toilet. And it's not that I completely, threw them under the bus, but I had to push pause. It's like I couldn't stand up, so I couldn't even get into the studio. So basically laid in bed for a couple months. Now it's been about a month since I've been walking again, and been under the radar, helping some people finish up projects we've started, which is their music. And I told you I'm scoring a short film for my buddy.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's gonna come out soon. It's very simple. It's fun. I can't believe he's trusting me with it because it's like my first time scoring anything. But I'm pretty proud of what I'm doing right now in that. And so it's gonna come out in about a month. It's gonna premiere. I believe the platform that publicly is going to be sharing on is both Vimeo and YouTube, and that should, I think, September 24th.
Okay.
But anyway, those are the projects I'm working on. Pretty chill. Not doing too much. I will get on board soon. I'm trying to do a big production for a song, but that's going to cost money, and money's hard to come by, especially during these times. So,
Sure.
That's going to take some time. Got to hire musicians and stuff to get that going.
This is like original work?
Original work, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to resume. I want to do at least a couple more, personal tracks.
Yeah.
And
well, shit. I mean, people want another Lucas Morais, Allan Louderback.
I know. It's been a while. You know what's crazy? It's been about like, what has it been, 3?
I mean,
4? What's the 3 years?
We put out Lost together.
That's been what? That's 2
Yeah,
years.
that's been even longer than Thought.
Yeah.
And then Thought, THOT, that was released about 3 years ago. Just about 3 years ago. And those songs are still performing really well. They're still in my top 5
really
most popular songs on
That's
Spotify.
That's dope. I mean, dude, even from my friends alone, like I have friends that are out trying to help start like a record label outside of the state, and they keep coming back to that. They're like, that production, the quality value in that production is like, they're like, this is what the record label needs. And I'm like, oh man, that's some praise. Like that is, and I'm like, and what's funny is we just right here in this very room, we're just hanging out, and it was like, you did your usual, hey, let's sit at the computer, let's just do something. And, then me going, yeah, right, what are we gonna do? And then 1 hour later, it's like, yeah. And
Are you talking about Thought?
All of them.
Or yeah.
Dude, like everything we ever start is always you just going, let's go. And then I'm like, there's no way we're going to put out any idea in 1 hour. And in 1 hour, it's something like.
We're going to make something before you leave, just so you know.
Yeah,
and it's going to be a goddamn hit. I mean, I got to be honest. It's like you showed my eyes on like what music can be like when it came down to chord progressions, how to sing, how to structure songs. And so for that, I thank you.
Dude, I appreciate that.
And man, it's like, it's super hard to come by. I think you've said this too, like especially here in Seattle, artists that like actually show up.
Yeah.
Show up mentally, show up physically,
Yeah.
and have consistency and tenacity to just keep it going.
Yeah.
And so you're telling me how you were thinking of relocating. I'm thinking of relocating. It seems like we're both looking to relocate to places that are a lot more known for their entertainment aspects. The scene here in Seattle, the music scene, how do you feel about it?
Well, first of all, I love it. I mean, it is a culture of its own, right?
Sure.
It is like, it has such amazing history. And it is still going to hold a place in our hearts, right?
Yeah.
The way it is though is when we touched on this, like I was going to move to LA, and right, a lot of people, you know, they have that kind of like the stereotype.
I'm gonna go to LA to become something.
Yeah, and like a lot of people are like, well, everybody in LA is a starving artist, and I'm like, yeah, that's kind of, as a producer or audio engineer, you're like, well, everybody in LA that is a starving artist or is an artist, they don't have to be starving.
Sure.
They sacrifice to get there. They have to give up a lot, and a lot of them came from a lot less, or gave up something to go there, and they were
saving up for years.
Yeah,
like.
and their head is like, when they're there, they're ready. They're ready to go. I only know of like a very small handful of people who gave all of that up to come to Seattle.
Sure.
It's such a small handful that's like, they are those people exactly, but such a small handful. Like, not even, I can't even count on my hand the amount of people I know, but that is all the people I would be surrounded by if I were to move. And so for me, it's just me being it's like being surrounded by that energy, by that like mentality, is kind of part of the reason why I wanted to move. And it's like, you know, if we're talking about like your question again, the Seattle thing, it's like, it'll always hold a place in my heart. There's nothing wrong with Seattle. That's not a knock on Seattle, right? It's me needing to kind of grow in a different way. Like, one of my mentors told me that I have to explore the industry in a lot of different cities to finally understand what the industry, how it like really works. Yeah, because
there's a lot to it, yo.
Yeah.
And that's if you pick an area. You're never gonna understand everything. If you hone into become a master at that skill, you might get there.
And so I could do amazing things in just Seattle alone, but I'll never understand the industry as a whole if I don't explore it.
Yeah.
And so for me, why not start at the heart, you know? And obviously that is still kind of in the works. That's like a plan. That may not come this year, you know, it may not come next year, but it will happen. And I think I owe it to myself to explore it. I don't need to be successful in it. I just need to explore it and find my own way, so that, you know, down the road, I know I did it.
Plus, it's like a natural way of sort of putting yourself out of your comfort zone.
Oh, yeah.
And it's been proven. I mean, I personally know this. Every time that I do this to myself, and I purposely put myself in a situation where you're not comfortable, you will grow.
Absolutely.
You have no choice.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So you can, on a psychological level, trick yourself into becoming better, because you know that every time you put yourself in adverse situations, you just have to come through, or else.
Yeah. I mean, that's the hard part, though. It's like we're all, it's like we're like, man, the comfort's nice, right? We all have such a hard time. We all know we do better under that adversity, or that discomfort, or being put in a like comfort zone.
I don't actually think most people are fully aware of that.
Well, I mean, I think there are a lot of...
Because they're not living that.
That's true. Like a lot of...
So it's like, if you know it, but you're not doing it, what's the point of knowing if you're not going to use it?
That's true. I mean, that's the thing, is people have different levels of, I think, like, what makes them happy kind of thing. Like, I think part of it is because a lot of people have already convinced themselves, like, you know, majority of us can't, you know, have the things that we, you know, you and I might be striving for. Yeah. So it's like a lot of people write themselves.
Bullshit, right? What a load of bullshit.
A lot of them write themselves off for that, and that's. I mean, hey, first of all, if you find your happiness doing that, that is okay to me. I don't mean that you have to sacrifice things that you've wanted to do your entire life. But if maybe that's not what you wanted to do.
I get you. Like,
yeah, it's like
everybody doesn't have to be a fucking superstar.
Right,
Everybody doesn't
right.
have to be a fucking movie star.
Yeah.
I get that. I'm fully on board with that. I don't care what you do as long as you try to do it to the best of your ability and you're always trying to grow and move forward.
Yeah.
It could be you can have a hot dog stand. But if in your head you're like, I got the best hot dogs in town, I got the best prices, my business is on
double
point.
down.
Yeah, and you're like, fuck
Triple
yeah, dude,
down,
get
yep.
that hot dog stand popping. Like,
Yeah.
it's not about the career you choose, it's how you go about it.
True.
And so I personally have noticed that it's not too bad, but I've noticed that if you allow certain people to be around you and their mentality is not their mentality is not I want something better for myself and I'm gonna work for it, that shit's stagnant as fuck, yo. And like you will feel it too. You're like, this is weird. I don't feel like doing shit. I don't feel like working out. I don't feel like going and making new songs. Why? It's because you're around stagnant energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and actually, that's to add to your point. I absolutely, well, first of all, I agree, because surrounding myself with like-minded people has drastically changed my last couple of years, because like my first couple of years outside of quitting my job to go full-time, my first couple of years was the struggle behind it was that a lot of people were looking for comfort. Like they were it's like the reverse was happening. I was surrounded by a lot of people who were out of their comfort zone, but they weren't seeking to use that, to throttle them in any direction. It was more like they were trying to get out of that area and get to more of a stable, maybe like comfortable life. And that journey is, is for them, that was like a thing for themselves to go on. And since I wasn't on the same boat as that, it made it hard for me. It kind of like influenced me to be like, yeah, I just want something stable too. I just want to chill. I don't want to do too much because that's what they want to do. Everyone I know, like a lot of my closest friends, are settling down. So that affects me. That kind of in your psyche, you may not see them every single day, but you kind of get this weird mentality of maybe we're at the age to settle down, or like, it affects you in small ways. So like after 2 years, I was like, okay, I'm going to start surrounding myself with other creatives, other people who are just going at it. And slowly but surely it chips away at me in a good way. And then I start doing these things like on a daily that are like, if I wake up in the morning and I have a choice to do something creative that would propel me forward in any way, or sit at the computer all morning and doing nothing. Yeah. Social media, doing something, checking emails, doing nothing, pretending that I'm about to do something. The people I surround myself with greatly affect that decision on a daily basis. It's like the small things, they add up. And so the last 2 years have been like drastic. And it's probably why I've been fortunate enough to meet the people I've met. I mean, you're one of them. You're 100 all the time. I mean, you're about as intense as it gets for me. It's like when I am around you, I'm like, nobody is going at his speed. And if they are, they're probably doing it right. But I have to be around that sometimes because I need to be reminded like, whoa, if I'm just chilling, I need to be reminded that there's someone out there that's like making that decision between the two, always choosing the one that gets them where they need to be.
They're ready to take your place.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that you hear a lot of people who are like successful. They say that line, like, yo, I don't show up today. Somebody else will. I don't put out more music and become irrelevant. Somebody else will. Yeah. And so it's not like you need to fight. You need to fight for your fucking success. You need to fight for your freedom. You need to, that's a daily thing. And I don't think I would like to hope most people understand that, but my goodness, like for most people who try to understand what it's like to be an artist, to try to make it in the industry, the amount of shit that you have to put up with for the first few years, as far as like working your job, going and playing at 12 o'clock at night, waking up, going to your job again, then you go to the studio and make a song, the song gets bounced out, it sounds like shit. You like basically want to cry. You're like, fuck my life.
You're gotta start over.
Yeah. And so like the amount of just beat downs that you're getting just across the way, if you're not intense about like getting better, the industry will fucking break you apart.
Yeah.
And then you will most likely do what most people do, which is quit. They kind of stop going forward. They just kind of life happened, kids.
Sure.
And next thing you know, they're somewhat resentful. And every time they're around artists who are like getting it, I see this all the time. I'll play a live show. I'll be done playing. And then people come to say hi. Great show, blah, blah, blah. And I remember this one guy, he's like, oh, yeah, man, that was great, man. You're killing it, man. Yeah, I used to DJ back in the day, too, you know. And I go, oh, dope. You don't still do it? He's like, oh, nah, you know, kids and, you know, it's, you know. And he just kept going in this backward circle. And I'm like, no, I don't know. I know that when I want to do something, I go and fucking do it. That's what I know. So if you are a DJ at heart, like, I'm sorry. There is no excuse as to why you stopped DJ other than the fact that you stopped DJ.
Yeah. We're in
Right?
an interesting generation too, where it's like this is the first kind of set of generation where people are getting old enough to kind of, you know, they're the first group of people to be like, they can quit DJing, right? Like DJing wasn't like isn't so old that we've had generations of it where it's like
pretty new,
people don't, like, how many people have gone into their old age? And so it's like people kind of are convinced that there's only like a set amount of time to do these things because there hasn't been enough people in the world to kind of like go into their old age to do the things they love. I mean, we're obviously, for me, I'm not a DJ, so I'm actually in the one world where people do go into their old age.
Sure.
Most of my mentors and stuff, they're well into old age, and so I mean that's also another reason why it's a little tough to kind of get in, is because, you know, passing the baton's kind of tough. You're
going against guys who've been in the industry for like 30 plus years.
Yeah, they're the go-tos.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, luckily those are the same people who mentor me, and it's like fun to learn from them. But you're right. There's a lot of people who like, it's a fine line, but these like excuses can be very like routine.
Yeah.
And the routine part about it, it's like we need to build a routine, which can seem like so cliche, but it's like, on a daily basis, we have to create small things.
Consistency, yeah.
This consistency of making that right decision for us that add up.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will be like, every single day you always choose to do this. Like, that's like, can't you just give yourself the one day? I'm like, no, because I know myself. Like, I can't afford to give myself the one day, because usually that leads to another day, and that leads to another day. And like, that could be a lot of days of me doing nothing. And so, it's like, how am I going to grow if I'm not making that small decision correct? Yeah. You know, I can't make the big decision. Easily, we can all make the one big decision. But to make that work, you have to make all the small ones up to it. And it's like, people come up with excuses a lot. And I think it kind of adds up over time, where it doesn't feel like, you know,
like you lied to yourself for so long that at this point you actually believe it.
Yeah, it's like diets. Like, you know, we just like, I'm going to allow myself, you know, especially we're all habit forming. You know, humans are habit forming. So it's I wake up and I go, man, I'll allow myself, you know, all this garbage today. And then tomorrow comes and you're just like, I already did it yesterday, so just one more. You're like, I'm already doing fine, so I might as well just allow it a couple more days. And then you're just like so far into it that you're like, well, there's no going back. Like, somehow that new excuses take over the old ones. And
what do you think is happening there in the person's brain?
I don't know. I think some of it's comfort, some of it's the habit forming, like the addictive part of it. Yeah, and people are addicted to comfort. And you know, I mean, if we're speaking diet, people are addicted to, you know,
comfort foods
and stuff. But that also applies to the rest of life. It's like, you know, if we're talking about the ceiling of the music industry, that percentage is so low.
Yeah.
And to get to that in any facet, you know, whether it be DJing, producing, anything, you know, the percentage is low right away. And that idea alone just weeded out everybody.
Yeah.
And then the hard work that it takes to get up there to that low percent just weeded out more people. And I think that is kind of a bummer, because that's like, some of it is that's part of habit too. Is like,
Yeah.
we are like, well, we could have comfort doing this other thing. So why would I do all of this for a 1% chance when I could have a 95% chance, but have a little less?
Sure.
And so for me, like, or for us, it's like I've weighed the options and going, this one thing is worth my time.
Yeah, it's worth the effort.
Yeah, because even if it doesn't work, if I'm not the 1% up there that's like doing the thing that I want to do, I'm not going to regret it. Like, I'm going to be a more wholesome human being for it.
Yeah, you went for it.
Yeah. My old job I used to work, I quit because so many people at that job were like, man, I wish I did this thing when I was younger. And everybody I worked with, they were like 50s, 60s. They were like, dude, I wish I did this thing. And I'm like, dude, you're telling me at the right time, because I want to do this thing right now.
Yeah.
And I'm not about to go up to my old age and be like, I wish I did that thing. So
Dude, that's such a sad fucking vibe to put out.
I know.
Well, I mean, you bring up a good point, which is, it seems to me like the underlying aspect here is purpose. I've come to find out that I don't give a damn how big your dreams are. If there's no real purpose as to why you even want to achieve that, like real purpose, something that's like solid, has concrete life lessons behind it, you will give that up. You will quit. You will stop doing it. I don't care. I don't care what it is. I don't care how exciting it is. If your purpose is not the correct type of purpose as to why you're doing that thing, you're gonna quit. Then I was talking to my buddy earlier today, where people keep talking about how you should follow your passion, and he had I forgot the guy who had made this comment. He was watching some other podcast, and he pretty much nailed it, which is, yeah, you could do this whole passion thing, and that's fine. Really, what you should do is find your purpose. Because your purpose is going to actually weather you through the fucking storms. Having a passion I have passions for several things.
Oh, yeah.
That doesn't mean that I became what I should have become at it, as far as like work ethic and growing to something, actually gaining the fruits out of doing that thing.
Yeah.
Eventually, I stopped doing it. I had passion for it at the time. As far as purpose for you goes, what do you think is some of your driving purpose behind the decisions that you make in regards to your career?
Gosh. That one's a roller coaster, because my purpose, it feels like, I would say that in the last couple of years, passion and purpose is kind of
right there next to each other.
It's kind of next to each other, but then it gets blurred a little bit, because then I start like later, it's like you realize something that you thought was your purpose is also like it was your passion.
Sure.
Because you move away from it.
I guess that would be the ideal setup, right?
Right, yeah.
You have the passion for the thing that you have the purpose for.
Yeah, and like what my purpose is, it feels like that is probably an ongoing journey. That is the reason why I'm probably like not as propelled necessarily as like when I'm talking about those daily decisions and stuff. I'm not always making the same ones. It's not consistent yet. And that's kind of like, although I didn't answer that question right, I haven't really exactly chosen. Sure. I haven't exactly chosen my purpose, but that kind of goes back to when we were talking about moving. Moving to me was going to drive purpose for me, because to me, my purpose, I mean, like, I wanted to, I do not care at all about the fame. It's nice. It's cool. Like, fame is like something that can come along in the world, blah, blah, blah. It can come and go. It's really like experiencing the music industry at its like peak. Like, I want to know what it looks like all the way, at its craziest, at its like fullest, what it feels like, at the highest ceiling that I can see it at. And maybe as an audio engineer probably, or a producer or something. Yeah. I want to see people, the best in the world, that do that. And like the only way that I can see that is to keep propelling and driving myself towards that.
There's no other way.
In any other way. And so that doesn't mean that I want to be famous necessarily. I want to be around other people that want to make music.
Well, actually, if your purpose was to be famous, I mean, you're fucked already. Because like,
Yeah, I know.
everybody who I've seen that's gone into the entertainment industry and that was their biggest factor, meaning I want to be famous, didn't happen.
Yeah.
Not only did it not happen, they did it in a very like unhealthy, unhappy way, getting caught up in the dumbest shit.
Sure.
Well, fame has actually shown to actually make more people depressed than anything.
Yeah, because
Because it does weird things to your brain. I'm not saying like if you don't have the opportunity, don't go for it. I'm just saying be smart, be careful what you wish for, because sometimes it's actually not greener on the other side.
You also can't have the highest highs without the lowest lows.
True that.
To me, like the higher the high is, which means fame, the lower that is when you don't have it, and you will not have fame forever. Like not very many people do.
Yeah, true.
So
most people
like,
become irrelevant after a few couple years.
So especially in this world, it's like people come and go like that, and so to me, it's like, yeah, you're right. The purpose is huge. I mean, if I could have my way, I want to be surrounded by some of like the best music industry, artists. I want to be surrounded by musicians, people who are just have been around and understand the industry from the business side, from the musical side, like people who are just like have so much wisdom to offer, because I could learn so much from them. But the only way I can be surrounded by those kinds of people are to explore and to like get around the world and meet all those like amazing musicians and all that stuff.
Yeah.
There's amazing musicians everywhere, obviously.
They really are.
But, we're talking about the music industry as a whole. I want to meet the people who have produced or audio engineered some of the craziest albums. I want to hear those stories. I get some of that here at Robert Lang Studios. It's really cool, but that's one studio. There are more out there. I have to explore those just to be able to understand, just all those things. And in terms of purpose, I think my adventurous side feels like I have to see it all. It's like people who want to travel the world. They're like, I meant to travel the world. I have to do all this stuff. I meant to travel the music industry world. That's what it feels like. And so like, I can't sit around, and that kind of makes me want to get out.
Yeah.
It's the reason why I've decided that's going to happen in the future at some point. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, you've talked about purpose already in one of previous talks?
We did a whole episode on purpose.
Okay, yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at. I didn't quite like specifically answer because I kind of like touched on a few things, but
there's no right or wrong about that, wherever you are with your life, that's where you are with your life, and however you view it, that's how you view it.
That's where my head is right now. I mean, we talked about security a little bit, but we also talked about maturity, how we're in a mature enough place to
Let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah, sure.
So, you and I are well aware that we have both experienced the aspect of being I guess, for lack of a better word choice, the struggling artist.
Sure.
The stereotype, the broke artist or whatever. Mm-hmm. Fortunately for us, we still had pretty good careers outside of making music. So it was never seemed that it was an issue for us to still keep the ball rolling, paying for bills and paying for investing back into our own careers. Mm-hmm. But I do remember at certain points feeling like it was just too much to juggle, like full-time job at a corporate environment, such as Microsoft, and then recording a music video till 2 a.m, and then waking up at 6 to go to work for another 12 hours.
Yep.
And like you just push through it. But from your experiences, that part that you have to go through as an artist, which most artists have to. Most artists are not grown into a trust fund baby situation where you can just make music all day, every day, and not give two shits about it.
Oh, yeah.
How do you view this process and its relevancy to an artist? Well, one, learning about themselves, but two, weathering through this time in order to see the light at the end of the tunnel?
Well, I mean, one thing, first of all, I think it's like necessary, right? You said that. But it's strange how for us it kind of happens similarly, and I almost feel like it kind of has to happen that way. But we talked about the struggle. The reason we have to go through it's like because it teaches us, right? It teaches us all of the things that we wouldn't really understand unless we went through it. But we needed it. we originally like I think you quit for the same reason, but I quit my job because I needed time. My job paid for like me making a studio at home. It paid for instruments. It paid for the gear, but then all I needed left was time. Mm-hmm. And so I quit the job so I could have time. But over the years, through all those struggles, we've become more efficient. We've become more mature. We have wisdom. We understand how to like dictate, our scenarios, our music, everything. We know how to kind of like get around. And now we've full circled back into, well, I know how to work my time now.
Yeah.
So now I kind of need the security again, or not the security, but we need like, a little bit of something a little buffer zone to kind of like not be going paycheck to paycheck. So that's like a lot of people are juggling both the job and the thing. So that's kind of like where I'm at right now. And the whole having to go through it, it's absolutely relevant. It's like, I don't know, like,
if you can actually I don't think there's any other route.
Yeah, even for the people who are like born with it all, I don't know if they ever like make it without, like they are pretty much not going to make it. Like
you rarely hear about stories like that.
Yeah, there's no son of a famous.
Almost all especially in the music industry, the people who are all popping. Mm-hmm. You look at most of those stories, I would say almost 99% of them came from a middle class to a lower class family. And they worked their way up, and they withstood fucking 10 plus years of nobody giving a damn. Mm-hmm. And then boom, had their shot, they took it, and they capitalized on it.
Yeah, there's very few, maybe none that I can think of off the top of my head.
Can't.
Like sons or daughters of famous artists or something like that.
There's a few cases, kind of like was a Will Smith's son, Jaden.
Oh, yeah.
And to be honest, he has done decent with the fact that it's probably already hard enough to have your dad be Will Smith.
Right. But he is not like, that's a little more in the acting zone. Like
he puts out.
I guess technically Will Smith. I see Will Smith still as an actor, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I don't see him as an artist.
He started with acting because his dad got him in. He probably thought it'd be a good idea. So
yeah.
But then. What I would wager is Jaden probably started listening to music, probably started to feel vibing, like these motherfuckers are cool, like this is the cool industry, and he saw himself as an artist and was like, I'm going for it.
Yeah.
And I got the money and the resources to just get my career off the ground pretty quickly.
True. That's true.
Your dad's fucking Will Smith. Like people know who you are as a family.
And that's that moment too is like they're. Right when that happens, and that's totally cool because that stuff might come out and you'll get exactly what you wanted. Is like the eyes will be on you when that stuff happens. But that's where I feel like even from their standpoint, the struggle will start because high highs, low lows. You're gonna realize that there's a consistency that's involved with it, all the habits that you need to form, and most of us form that when we're in our struggle mode or starving artist mode, and for him, he's probably had to experience lows afterwards in some regard. That's like...
Yeah, a lot of people were shitting on his acting skills.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so like a lot of people didn't want to give him respect because they're like, yeah, you're only here because you're dad.
Oh, yeah.
And then I felt like Will Smith tried to do the music career earlier on, and it was like nothing that people gave a damn about.
Right.
And so I honestly think, Jaden's just a better musician, and Will is just a better actor.
Dang, dude, you can't write off Will's raps, dude.
It's okay.
Nah, but okay. But for real, like
there's a whole lot of actors who try to go into. I found out majority. So guys like Johnny Depp and other guys, they were trying to become musicians before.
Really?
And they failed. Like they were not getting, and then they went into acting, and then it just took off. I know several stories like that. You know why it is? For a lot of these, it's the cool fact. Music has a cool factor to it that other industries just don't quite have. Don't get me wrong. It's cool to be a fucking Hollywood star, but a lot of Hollywood stars are like failed artists who didn't get into the music industry and then went to as a second option.
It's true. That is totally true. That's why the whole entertainment industry over there as a whole, it's like it's
cross references all the time.
It's all around there. It's one of the, but here's another, this is like another reason why I love something I love about Seattle is that musicians are just musicians here.
Sure.
Like artists here, they're like, most people are so comfortable in their skin here that they, like, as an artist or as a musician, they just want to do the music. They just want music in their lives. That's super cool to me in its own way. That's not necessarily propelling my goals and my like my stuff, but like it's so cool to be around, because when you're around them and you're just making the music and you are in that mode, the music's beautiful. It's like it's amazing to converse and talk like about what their thoughts are, their music theories, the ways they do things, because they just love it. And there's people like that all over the world. Seattle just has that kind of charming history behind it, where people just are like that inherently. But it's also why, for me, the ceiling kind of is a little lower. It's like nobody's even seeking anything more than just loving the music.
We're loving the music, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it's crazy. It's not necessarily true across the board, right? I've met a lot of people who are, but they're the people who, like, they chose to move to Seattle instead of LA, right? Those people aren't even from here. They're the people who, like, gave up everything and decided that Seattle was the place. And then they're like, even now, a lot of those people I met are like, I think I've outgrown Seattle, and like, I think it's time to go to the industry now.
Yeah.
And I'm ready for that. And so I'm like, I totally understand that feeling, but yeah, you're right. There's a lot of kind of that energy. And the industry is like, yeah, you can go to the industry. A lot of people that don't make it, they go to acting, they switch around, but the whole industry is over there. So it's like, I mean, I didn't even realize half the people you mentioned, like, they were like the actors. I didn't realize that any of them were like started off.
There's a lot of them.
But I think that makes sense, because I have heard that before, not just those specific ones, but totally.
When I heard Johnny Depp was really going for it makes sense, because you see how he dresses and all the rings and the long hair, like, that's musician vibes right there.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense in my head, but I digress. Going back a little bit, you talked about how a lot of the artists that you've come across here are really just all about the music and really just trying to be like that spirituality with the music, kind of like that hippie vibe to a certain.
Yeah, we kind of got that going, and they're really prideful about that. It's like they love their history, they love the underground scene. It's like, just play their shows live. I mean, that's so charming and so awesome in its own way.
Now, here's where I'm going with this, though.
Okay.
I've seen that, sure, you can go with that approach, and it sometimes works out for certain artists, and they end up going huge. They end up signing record label deals, making millions of dollars, and it works out. Across the board, I found out the artists that go about it with that mentality, they almost end up teaching themselves zero business skills.
Sure.
And they end up getting quite bitter about the industry because they never, quote unquote, took off or made enough money to have a somewhat of a comfortable life.
Absolutely.
And so do you think nowadays that we're in this wave of independent artists and third-party distribution companies who allow you to put out your own music without having to be signed to a label, do you think right now, more so than ever, it would be more in your favor as an artist to really try to understand being an artist, but then also like the business behind being an artist?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, dude. You have to know it all, or not know it all, sorry.
You have to know a lot.
But you have to know more than just the music side of things, because there's no longer, like, record labels are not really a big thing anymore. Now, the biggest record labels are still the biggest.
They're still doing some stuff, but it's creeping up on them. They know that this whole wave of independence.
Yep.
So, I mean, in regards to, like, the business aspect for musicians.
Yeah. And so we're in, like, an independent world right now. And so, like, yeah, we have record labels that exist, and the big ones still exist, but we're in a world where, like, a lot of independent artists are coming up, and you have obviously all this access to distribution and things you can do at the comfort of your own home. Because of that, it's more important than ever to know the business side of things, because you could run your own show.
Yeah.
And I think the one problem that we have, like independent people, is like a lot of them are younger, right?
Mm-hmm.
They just haven't explored it yet. So they're just throwing out music. Even the older people who don't necessarily have the wisdom yet of knowing that there's like a business to it. A lot of people out there, a lot of artists, specifically artists, are like, it's like they know, like everyone, so many people are talented. There's like everybody in the world could be talented probably on something, right? And if we're talking about all the people putting out music, actually more than not, people are talented that are putting out music. It's just that because they're all talented, most of them are like expecting that it'll fall in their lap.
Right. And then anymore, it's such competition out there.
Yeah. So the game changer is who's better at the business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's better at the other stuff. It's
Yeah.
not who's the best artist out there. I could find 100 of every kind of artist out there.
Oh yeah, I could find amazing artists that nobody fucking knows about.
Yeah.
And I would compare them directly with people who are in the top charts.
Oh yeah.
And you'd be like, listen to these songs and tell me what you think is
Yeah.
better produced and put together. And it's wild. At this point, I'm convinced the music industry, I don't want to say it's not about your talent. I would say that has become less than 50%.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's not
Like that to me is, let's just say 25, 30% of the game. The rest of it is branding, marketing,
Dude, yeah.
and then actually putting yourself out there like in live shows and actually put on a good live show.
Yep.
If you cannot do the rest of these aspects, pretty much like you said, you're hoping for a magic deal from a label. And here's the worst part. Let's just say you get this label that comes for you and like, hey, we want to sign you, we want to do this, we want to do that. Well, guess what? Because you didn't educate yourself on contracts, you didn't educate yourself on parameters on how to set from the get-go, you're most likely going to get screwed over on this deal. You're probably not going to get the most amount of money you could have gotten.
You might not get any money.
You might even owe money.
Yep.
I've heard that shit happen. I was like, what the fuck?
A lot of stories. So one of the stories that I know that came out of Bobby's Place, Robert Lang Studios, I was helping record a band, and one of the guitarists of the band, his old band was signed to Universal Records.
Yeah,
Big record label. But this was like, I think we're saying 90s now. This is a long time ago. These are old time dudes. But he told me that they had a budget, and these are back in the day, but the budget for these things, it's like $1 million goes to an album, or $1 million goes to a music video. And you're like, what? You could go through $1 million for all this stuff? And
unnecessary to be
unnecessary, honest, really. But yeah, they wanted to hire the top of every little detail that they possibly could. And that, that was back in the day when every single position needed a person for it. It wasn't, you weren't really allowed to double dip in positions. There's not one guy doing it all.
There's a specialist in each one of the areas.
Yeah. And there's to some degree that's still kind of needed in some projects. But as an independent person, that's not true, right? You can do all of it alone as an independent artist. But he was saying that they had a project for his band that, let's see, I don't know if it was a music video or if it was an album, but basically the budget the budget, well, they didn't go over the budget. The budget was like $1 million. That was like what they signed for.
Okay.
But the return afterwards, they only got like $750,000. So by the contract, it was like the band owed $250,000 back. And so basically this dude was like left
the band?
No, he didn't leave the band. They like found a way. They basically like found a way for them to get cut by Universal. They found a way for them to be like,
get dropped from
the label completely. And they finagled their way. This is where they're like, they have been in the business a while, but they didn't know if they would see that part come. Like they were like, we knew that was a possibility. So it's like, we're prepared to kind of finagle our way to get dropped. But eventually like they got dropped, and it was like, they didn't ever have to pay that. But that was one of those.
That's when they were able to walk away from that. I'll tell you a story that.
Oh, like that's not a good. Yeah.
No, like so. Are you? Is that the story?
Oh yeah, that's the story. I mean, just agree with the fact that labels are gonna get you.
Dude, they're gonna get you. Like, trust me when I say this. Most people who are working labels, I know this for a fact, they are also failed artists. A lot of them wanting to become artists themselves, realized they didn't have it in them. Now I might as well still be around the music, and I can make music. I can make money from it by being on the management aspect of things. So be mindful of that. You're getting managed by, most of the time, failed artists themselves. You might not even be able to pick up on it because you're like, they don't even have an artist vibe. Like, yeah, that's why I didn't fucking make it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah.
And so there's that. I'll tell you a story. I forget which group it was. It was a pretty big one. It was like it was an all-female group, kind of like a different version of a boy band. And they get signed some crazy fucking amount of money, and they're all excited. We made it. We finally made it. We don't have to put up with this bullshit of being broke anymore. They're all fucking ecstatic. To find out, like 1 or 2 years later, the group of girls owed like close to $500,000 because when they were getting their ready to go, they didn't know that the budget that was getting used for the release party, for the this and the this and the that, they thought the label was paying for that, and they're gonna get their cut regardless. Pure negligence. And then they find out, no, the release party that you guys agreed and invited a bunch of VPs over, and that came out of your guys' cut. $50,000 out the fucking window. That studio that you picked instead of the other one, that studio cost $20,000 as opposed to $5,000. Boom, $20,000 out the fucking window. And so these girls are finding this out as the aftermath.
Oh yeah.
And not only did you not come out on top, you're now real broke. You're like broke.
Yeah.
You're like, I might go to jail broke. Mm-hmm. And so I can't stress it that in every situation I've seen these artists talk about this, they try to paint themselves as like the victims. And in a certain way, you definitely were the victim. But you allowed yourself to be the victim.
Yeah.
You were not educated enough to make these deals. And you still went for it. And so I personally think the wave of independent artists that's coming, that's been rolling out, I think it's just going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. And I've already seen a couple big hitters.
Yep.
Like Tom McDonald, and you got Russ and some other guys.
Yeah.
And I have huge respect for them, regardless if you like their music or not. It's not about that. It's about the fact that there are individuals out there who are willing to put all the weight on their shoulders because they know that on the back end, the payout is... It's a different world as far as you actually own everything.
Yeah.
It's under your name.
Yeah. I mean,
the masters are yours.
That's a good point you bring up, is that each, I would call it generations of like artists that are coming out. They do get stronger each time. I mean, that's just kind of even in generations, like that's just how it kind of is. It's funny that we just happen to be growing up in the transitional period where it's like we have the culture of, well, so you don't get screwed over, you need a manager or an agent. That's the guy who keeps an eye out on you while things are happening. And that culture, obviously that is a lot more in the upper echelon. If you're that big that you need somebody to watch you that kind of way, that all of that's like older culture. That's
levels
still,
to it,
there's levels to it. And that still exists now. But now when we talk about artists that are coming up, that doesn't exist anymore. You may still need a manager. You may still need blah, blah, blah if you're that big. But like, until you get to that point, if you're shouldering it all alone, you have no choice but to learn the other aspects.
Yeah.
And so each generation of artists usually are learning from the previous in some way.
Yeah.
And they're able to jump into it without making some of the mistakes that we made when we were,
100%.
struggling or whatever. That's totally cool. I think that's pretty cool about the industry, is that we're finding ways to make it work for ourselves. I do think that is actually really cool, because you do remove like one of the biggest middlemen on earth.
Dude.
You literally...
Huge.
Like a middleman that literally will waste money to like make money, which is like, I get the investing in, to make money, but it's literally, all of that's repocketed into the company. So it's not actually going to the artist, which means that the artist gets their fame, but unless they're good enough to stay relevant, they're probably...
That money's going to run out.
That money's gone, instantly. They might not even get that money, right? Like, based on those stories, they're gone. It's so... Yeah, you're right. You're totally right. That's...
So... And I mean, I want to be clear here. When you talk about... Yep, we got a fire here, everybody.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, I live right next to a fire station. So I have the pleasure of listening to sirens on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. I'll be like recording on the booth, and I'll come back to listen to it, and I'll just hear, woo.
Yeah.
I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah.
Anyways, so what I was wanting to make a comment that when talking about being independent, I think some people just think like you literally do all of it yourself. Let me explain. The aspect of being an independent artist is that maybe at first you were literally trying to do all of the different jobs or most of them, and you were outsourcing some of the other things like graphic design, somebody to shoot your video, somebody to mix and master your music, whatever. The only difference is as an independent artist, you're hiring these people, you're finding out what a good deal is, and when you're getting ripped off, you're actually managing the project. You're like, I want it to look like this, I want the video to have this vibe, I want the graphics to have that feel. You're literally building it from scratch. You're adding people to your team, but it's your team, not the label's team.
Right. Yep. That's good to be clear on.
You're their boss.
That's really good to be clear on. Shouldering it doesn't mean like being alone. That's the huge part, because I think the people that actually do the best are the people who know how to not do it alone, but still
use other people's talents.
Yeah. So, they know how to be their own boss, but they're not alone. There's no way you can ever make it alone. That's gotta just be the like right off the bat. Don't try to do everything alone. That's hard, and that's lonely. That's like no fun. I mean, like if you're gonna try to make it alone, then it's sad anyway. It's like no fun. But anyway, being an independent artist does mean finding the right people to be around you, and finding the right people that'll like propel you into that direction. Totally. That's a huge point. That is a huge point.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. This aspect of labels getting cut out from the equation, huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
For us especially, yeah.
Yeah, that would be the equivalent of Hollywood movie making companies being pushed out of the equation. Because the actors themselves are funding the movies. Think about that shit for a second.
And that's that's huge too, because that's like, that's like the biggest scale version of what you could imagine that being.
Right.
Yeah. For me, like obviously we don't have it to that degree of scale, but that is like the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I personally believe that the empowerment that the average artist can have if they want to go for it. Now, I got to be honest, this shit's not going to be easy. Mm-hmm. There are times that my brain literally hurts because I got to hold on to so much information from different aspects of the business. It always gets better because you end up forming the calluses of learning these things, and it's just become second nature eventually. Mm-hmm. But dude, I remember certain times where you're learning to produce, you're learning how to sing, you're learning how to market your shit, you're trying to book a gig and not get railed by the fucking promoter. There's so many, and now you got to figure out how to release the song and have all the pieces show up correctly on Amazon and this. You're literally like, fuck, man, I'm learning the whole industry by myself.
The burnout of that is, if you're talking about like what weeds people out too,
that is a big part right there.
That one hurts, because that one, people get weeded out of that one, and that's like, that part is a bummer, because the people who get weeded out around this stage, that's just like a strength of resolve kind of thing. Like, how can you get perseverance, all that stuff. And that one, to me, that's that kind of the area where that area is a little bit of a bummer, because there's a lot of people who are like making honest effort at that point.
Yeah, but
and I totally get it. If they don't make it, they don't make it. But around there is like, man, I remember a lot of those moments where I'm starting to get a migraine trying to digest all the information at the same time, because one project needs me to know it all. Yeah. And I'm like, holy moly, like those moments, it's easy to doubt. Like, you're just like, I'm burning out, like, but I've gotten used to the fact that's like, okay, if my head's starting to hurt now, go take a nap or something, just come back. You'll remember a lot of the things you read and get to start fresh at the, just do it again. Yeah. But, there's a lot of people who are like, man, I'm not cut out for this. And it's just like, close out of all the things you've been researching, close out of all the things you've been studying, close out of the project. And that's fine.
If you find out that that's not your shtick, and you go move on to something else, you find out that's your thing.
Dude,
fantastic.
I'm a roller coaster when it comes to that stuff. I'll hit that stuff. You know, there are good days. I'm not talking like every single time I try to shoulder all that stuff, I'm good at it. Actually, more often than not, I'm actually bad at it.
Yeah, but you kind of undermine your actual results. I've noticed. Like, so basically, like, you did kill it, you did knock it out of the park, but then you're like,
Okay, yeah. I have a bad habit of doing that, but I mean, like, I'll have some. You know, for all the wins that we have more losses.
Correct. Yes,
that's the one where it's like people. I talk. We talk a lot like we're freaking stronger than everyone else. And maybe there's some truth to that in some degree, but a lot of that strength is like, oh yeah, dude, I'm failing and sad all the time. You know, not sad, but I'm failing all the time and like being like, dude, I need a nap or I need to just chill out for a second.
Or whatever you made today sucked.
Yeah, today sucked, dude. Right. It's like, definitely like a nice little reminder that's like, dude, we are not perfect at this. Definitely lots of people get weeded out, but the people that are still there, those people are still struggling. You know, those are the people that are like, we're just dealing with all the crap that comes, and we're like, yeah, my life is like a lot of work all the time. Which is kind of
get easier though.
It does.
I've noticed,
wisdom makes it easier.
Going back to what you were saying about wanting to be at a part where you kind of want some additional funding to always be there, because now you know that you can step into the studio and come up with a very solid idea, put it together in a very efficient manner that's gonna sound good, but you wouldn't have been able to do that if you hadn't put in 4, 5, 6, 10 years of the grind, like the producing 6 hours a day, to get to the point where now you can walk in for 1 hour, make a really good idea. And so, you know, it comes to a point where you have to understand what you're getting yourself into, and that this shit ain't gonna be easy. Like, you're gonna have to like grind it out.
Yeah.
And if you're not ready for that, I'd say you might want to go pick a different career. But you know, since we're coming up here at the top of the hour, what I was gonna do is give people a little bit of a sneak peek of some of the work that we've done together. And like I said, to this day, the songs that I've made with you are still some of my most popular songs. So I definitely think that we owe it to the public out there to maybe even make another Lucas Morais, Allan Louderback track. But without further ado, let's see what we got here.
Invisible, I wanna become something. You're way too beautiful. You got my full attention. For the moment we're here, girl, now you got me thinking. You're way too physical. Losing my train of thought. I'm lost. I'm gonna let go of you. Lost. Baby, when I'm not with you.
And we're back, guys. So there you have it, ladies and gents. Allan Louderback, the man, the myth, the legend.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for coming out. It's always dope seeing you kicking it. And aside from that, I hope you the best. And I see your life's gonna have several fruits of your work coming up ahead, like they already have. And at the end of the day, you're just a good friend of mine. So I love you, dog.
All right, love you too.
Yeah, man. All right, guys. Well, hey, there you have it. Appropriate Culture. You can catch these episodes coming out on Sundays at 4 p.m. Pacific. And you can also find us on all your different platforms for streaming like Audible, Spotify, the podcast on Apple, all that good stuff. And if you want to just go to our official website where everything's at, appropriateculture.com. And we even put some of the stuff on social media, TikTok, Instagram, you know, all that good stuff. Link in the description. And I'm also going to go ahead and I forgot to ask you, where can people keep up with you?
Instagram for sure. I'm going to be most active on there. You can go at Allan Louderback. Pretty much any social media at Allan Louderback, you'll find me. I have a newly made TikTok which I don't use, but I will because I feel like I got to show my face a little more. I used to like being behind the scenes, but I'm kind of I'll come out and come out of the shadows. Good.
Maybe we'll make a TikTok.
All right.
Dope, guys. Well, there you have it. Enjoy yourselves. Take it easy. Thanks for watching this episode from Appropriate Culture. If you want to watch other episodes, make sure to make your way to appropriateculture.com. You can also hang out with us in other social media platforms. They're all in the link in the description. And aside from that, if you want to listen to the podcast on other platforms like Audible, Spotify, any of those, you can also find us there as well. Link in the description. Take it easy, guys. Have a good day.
Thoughts everywhere, that hole over there. Why they playing games now?